Happy New Year's, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Fandom Empire Live. Things will start to look a little more normal around here in a couple weeks' time or so. But in the meantime, this is what we have to work with, so we're going to make the most of it. Joining me on this one is not only Randy, but Johnny. Randy, we'll start with you. How was your Christmas and New Year's, man? And just brief thoughts on if you thought this was a positive experience with episode 7.
Well, I mean, Christmas and New Year's was pretty uh, uneventful, relaxing. But I mean, that's what you want for the holidays anyway. I kind of wish that the snow that we got here in Virginia over the past couple of days had actually showed up a couple weeks early. Would have been nice to have a white Christmas, but it is what it is. As far as the episode goes, I mean, I enjoyed it. It obviously it held my attention, and uh, I kind of feel like it left off in a spot that's really going to set up for the finale.
Johnny, what about you? Did you have a good Christmas, New Year's, and positive thoughts, negative thoughts, mixed feelings on episode 7?
Well, the holidays were great. Everything since then has been hell. Um, I feel like I've been run over by a truck. I'm barely present at this point, but no, I enjoyed the episode.
And still here
Obviously,
nonetheless, Trooper.
yeah. Obviously, it's a setup for next week, and the selfish part of me is like, if you guys had started this 1 week earlier, we could be doing, you know, last week as a holiday episode would have been this episode, and then we could be back for the finale. But nah, you couldn't do me like that. So, uh, yeah, it was a great episode. Um, I enjoyed it. Definitely gonna have to watch it again when I'm not dealing with sick brain, because I'm sure I missed a lot. But I watched it. I'm here. I had a good time. I enjoyed it, which is better than I can say for a lot of things I've done in the last week.
Yeah, I think we've all been there and done that, and it always, if you can't give something your full attention, especially something you've never seen before, um, and being sick or being in pain will definitely prevent you from doing that no matter how hard you try. It's just difficult, right? Like it sucks a little bit of the enjoyment out of it. I remember one of the first things you, Randy, and I did together um was Ahsoka. And I missed the Thrawn episode. The Thrawn debut episode. You two ended up doing it alone. Um and like I'd seen the episode when it aired, but I was sick as a dog, and it's just like I had to watch it again the next day. I mean, I would have anyways, 'cause it's Thrawn, but um, it just like it can really impact your enjoyment of something, especially on your like initial watch. If you're not feeling well, I don't think that gets enough play at times with how people feel about watching something. How outside things can influence your enjoyment of a entertainment product. Um, for me, holidays were good. We cut some driving out of our holiday, and I still felt like we drove too much. So, never-ending battle. But my kids are happy, healthy, and looking forward to what's next, which would be my little guy's birthday party. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Jensen! And yeah, just sort of gonna go with the flow. Looking forward to the Royal Rumble. Looking forward to the last episode of this. Andor's not far off, which means we'll be basically getting right into our Andor rewatch, which I'm eager to get Johnny's feelings on the good episodes once he's able to make it past those first two. um, and Andor will really lead us through. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but like into the summer, I would think close to it. So because it's 12 episodes, not 8 episodes. So lots to come here for sure. Plus some more horror content. I was hoping if I got extra time this week, I could give my thoughts on some of the stuff that's been going on in the horror space the last little while. The Friday the 13th game. Would love to give some thoughts on that. Wouldn't mind doing that with Johnny one day. It's finding time and availability, and for me, I've made just sort of a conscious effort. If I feel god awful, I'm not going to do this. My health is too poor to like push through. It's push it to another week, another day, whatever you got to do. But don't kill yourself. That goes for you too, Johnny. Don't push it too far. You got to go. You got to go. Um, episode 7, Skeleton Crew. I thought it was really good. Um, obviously, big budget, some big sets, looked fantastic. Still a ton of questions to be answered, in my opinion, of things that aren't clear. Um, I think the thing that this episode does most successfully, and I think the last episode kind of set that up, last two really, is if you go back and look at how we felt about this show after episode 4 and were to revisit our comments after episode 4, we're feeling really good about the show, but also about Jod too. And here we are, penultimate episode of season 1, at least in the bag. And I have to say, full points to Jude Law, because I don't think he's just taking it from a character that you're, cheering on, and the kids are, obviously opening up something in him to, oh no, he's lost his way, he slipped off his path a bit. Maybe they can get him back. No, they full on turned him to, this guy's a piece of shit. So kudos to them. That's hard to do, especially when you have a likable actor playing a character. I thought that was done very well in this episode. Would love to get both of your thoughts on that, starting with Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I sort of made the conscious decision to not watch the 2 episodes over the holidays, just, you know, go through. So I saved them up for today. And it's exactly like you said, going into it, we were at a place with Judd where it's like, okay, he's a good guy who does bad things. By the end of this episode tonight, that is definitely no longer the case. Um, he is he is the wolf in sheep's clothing, and he has done a phenomenal job of portraying that and
Hey,
lulling us into that
take your
false
word.
sense of security throughout all his actions over the last 4 or 5 episodes to get to this point where this big dramatic reveal that he is in fact an awful person at his core is huge. You had a point in this episode where you could have sort of still thrown those shackles off a bit and gone down a redemption arc for him and made it believable. But the second he ignited that lightsaber in the cockpit, it was game over for him as a good guy. And that was phenomenal storytelling because I didn't see it coming. Even right up until that moment, I did not see it coming to that extreme that he was going to go that evil. And he did. And the performance was phenomenal. And like you said, hats off to Jude Law and the writing and the directing and all those moments in these last few episodes that have built up to him being, the bad guy has just been, it's been phenomenal. It's been amazing.
They just, yeah, they did such a good job with it, because, like, for me personally, I was hoping he was going to be this, and maybe it's been done too many times, but like this redeemable character who walks the line and, a tweener, if you will, wrestling term. Um, but they went so far with him that it's like, oh, yeah, fuck this guy. He deserves to get his. And yet the performance is stellar. Jude Law has been nothing short of incredible.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you both on that. It's interesting because you feel like you get full scoundrel here, but also like there's tells that he's not even really a Jedi or a former Padawan. He just understands that he can wield the Force because you watch him wield a lightsaber, and that tells you everything you need to know. But yeah, just watching how happy the kids were to be around him. And then all of a sudden, now we're to the point where you can see true fear in their eyes because he's just flipped that switch. He's been ruthless and merciless. And it's something that I didn't see coming. I honestly felt like this was going to be something that led to some form of redemption for him rather than him essentially becoming the villain for the series. And that's exactly what this has turned into. It's been impressive. And you can tell that Jude Law has enjoyed the character, that he's really into the character, that he believes in what the character is doing to the point of it just shines through in his acting. And that's always a great sign of writing, directing, just absolutely just clearly he's having fun, and it just shines through. I'm really excited to kind of see where this goes and if they give us enough at the end to keep things going, because I want to know more about this character. I want to see into not fully his past, but enough to get an idea of where things went wrong, that not only did he become a scoundrel, but to the point where he's just he's like Johnny said, a wolf in sheep's clothing, like a good enough actor to the point of hiding his true nature from everybody. And I think it's going to be a lot. If we get an opportunity to delve more into this character, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think we're going to get more of this show. I think ratings wise and review wise, it's been very good. But you're not going to like how long you're going to have to wait to get more of this show. You're looking at 2027 at the very earliest. Possibly the Filoni movie if they find a way to intertwine some of these characters in with that. But yeah, you're looking at 2027, 2028. So, it's a long ass way off, unfortunately. But I am excited to see where the finale goes. I'll say this: them turning so far heel, if you will, with Jod's character has selfishly made me want Jod to be coming out of a vault somewhere, and Cobb Vanth is just sitting there on the outside waiting for him, and you get the Timothy Oliphant Jude Law showdown. You could sign me up for that. Give me that Star Wars Outlaw showdown.
That would be quite the show in and of itself. Basically, a Catch Me If You Can, where it's Cobb Vanth chasing down Jod. That would be, I'd sign me up for that show because I think that'd be absolutely amazing.
I'm not saying this is the premise to the Mando movie because I guarantee you it won't be this basic, but you could sell me on Mando has a bounty on Jod, and you got Mando hunting Jod, and somehow Cobb Vanth gets in the mix too, and like the three of those with Grogu involved in a sort of like a slapstick bounty hunting comedy movie. You could sell me on that. You don't need to have this $250 million, $300 million massive thing, and you don't have to go as little as the 80 or 90 they spent on Kenobi, with a massive chunk of that going to Ewan McGregor. Um, you can do things practically, and as long as you have the right talent, I think talent always prevails, right? Like, um, and I think these guys are talented. And specifically, I was talking to Tommy B about this. I want to give Tommy B a shout out for this. Um, we were talking on the phone the other day, and we said the one thing that's really impressive with this show, and Johnny, I've covered Star Wars with you now for so many years, it's not even funny. And it's really easy to pick out, not just in Star Wars, but in Hollywood in general, a bad child actor performance, and you don't want to call them out because it's not right. It's bullshit. But bad child actor performances can really hurt movies. Bad chemistry amongst any aged actors can really hurt movies. Um, in this case, a limited series, but the not only are the child actors in this really good, they have chemistry with one another. And I think that's a rare find to hit on both of those.
It really is. You have that interplay in with them, and I mean, especially when you add in the difficulties with Neil being a character in prosthetics, it just makes it even more, you know, because there are fully grown adults who can't pull off that performance, and getting it from a child actor and amongst a group of other, like, I know we're just talking about this episode, but if you look back to the last episode, my God, you know, up and down in that episode, the performances were just intense. There was so much going on with kids in that episode that was just wow. It wowed me, you know. And
I don't think the kid who's playing Neil's going to get enough credit at the end of the day, but like
no,
in the suit, the way that he's still able to get the emotion across and the body language, like it's remarkable.
it really is.
Um, did anything turn you guys off in this episode? Was there any moment that made you go, "Yeah, I'm not liking the direction of this"?
I wouldn't say there was really anything that turned me off from it. Obviously, um, we get to learn more of the laws of AT-AT to some degree, with the parents at the beginning setting up the beacon, and having the droids chase them down and stun them all because it's against rules and regulation. Because obviously they're trying to keep it a hidden planet. Uh, but like overall, just it was paced well. The music was phenomenal. I love them combining Star Wars with pirates. I just like the that play that they have in there when you see the pirate ship. Uh, I I think as funny as it was and as satisfying as it was a little disappointing we didn't get more uh, action with Brutus. But again, given how Jod is as a character, it fits for what he did, rather than just straight up have a fight with him. Just you know, do what he just take his revenge that way. Uh, I mean, I liked a little more action there in that respect, but really that would have been my only gripe. Just not the for what we've seen in terms of the type of action where we've gotten in this series so far. I would have liked a little more conflict between Jod and the pirates, but that's really it. That's my only real gripe.
Yeah, I mean, as far as scrapes go, really the only thing negative I can say about this episode is, again, and we say this all the time with Disney Plus stuff, is length. It was just too short, you know, for a penultimate episode. Um, and you could argue, well, they didn't exactly have a lot of threads to wrap up, but you know, it's still. I would have liked more interplay throughout that, more, you know, exposition on other things, and it would have been nice, you know, to get more in the different places that we got. And, but that's a complaint we're always going to have, you know, about everything that we've seen under the Disney Plus banners. That it's just not enough of it, which is honestly, I'd say it's a good thing, you know, that we're feeling sort of let down in length for these reasons. Like, we want more of it, not from a, you know, you didn't tell us enough in the short time you gave us. It's, we just want more of the story, you know, and that's a nice feeling. Um, Compared to where we were in this point in, say, the Acolyte, you know, where we wanted more time because we needed answers to questions they weren't giving us. So, you know, it's definitely a different boat to be in. I much prefer being in this boat. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would have liked more time. in the episode, just to see a bit more of the pirate code, a bit more of that humor, the funny, you know, the childish interplay of the um, of Fern taking back the ship.
Hang in there, buddy. I'll cut in here for Johnny for a second. Ty's in the chat. Who, by the way, Joel said Happy New Year. Happy New Year, buddy. Um, he says, I'm hoping the igniting of the lightsaber sets alarms off at the vault. Internal security measures go in effect, and Jod gets what he deserves. Let the kids rail on him. He'll be detained. New Republic will show up, take care of the frigate of pirates, and next season, it's years later, and Jod escapes. Feels a little too simple for me, so you're probably right. Wouldn't be shocked if it's something like that, but I also know they're probably going to have the urge to, someone there at Lucasfilm is going, Neil? Grogu? Grogu? Neil? They got to meet. Even if it narratively doesn't make any sense. But, yeah, really, really been enjoying this so far. Johnny, you want to finish your thought there? Wanted to step in and save you for a second.
Thank you. But no, just I would have liked a bit more of that interplay in the cockpit, just from a levity standpoint. Everything was also
You want
intense,
more interplay in the cockpit?
sir. My brain is not functioning at 100%. You're gonna have to let some of those by, okay? Um, but no, I loved the humor. The levity in the moment was good because everything else was so intense, and just getting that little bit of humor out there lightened everything up, and I enjoyed it. And I would have liked a bit more of that, especially knowing what was about to happen with Droid getting his head cut off so unceremoniously. Although I personally don't think that's the end of that character, but we'll see next week. Um, but yeah, I just would have liked a bit more of that. I think we're definitely in for something fun next week. There's definitely going to be some turns and some twists. It's not going to be as simple as uh, it's not going to be as simple as but like Ty says in there, it's not going to be that simple. But I think that's kind of the end result we're going to get, something like it. Um, I think I still think Kim has a place to play in this story. I think the interplay with her and KB all the way back in, was it episode 2? Um, it was sort of too significant to not be relevant now.
Yeah, she's gonna get the Republic involved somehow.
And I think it makes sense, to sort of add this into the New Republic intrigue with, suddenly giving them this new degree of wealth, which I think would be interesting to see how that plays out. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. There's a whole lot of ways this could go, and I'm excited to see which directions it takes.
Any thoughts on that, Randy?
It's going to be interesting just to see how they wrap it up. Obviously, I can, if you do something, do something simple, as long as it's done well, that's all that really matters. So if they really do go as simple as, what's been suggested, then as long as it's done well and everybody just kind of goes all out in terms of like acting and the music and the sets and everything like that, I think it's going to land really well. Um, I wouldn't mind somehow some of this leading to, at even if it's just an epilogue or years down the road, just kind of a snippet of somehow Jod getting involved with, say, that as an example, Jod is the type of character that I think would interest Thrawn, to bring him in to utilize him. I think that's the only way I can think of him getting into the Filoni movie. is somehow he comes into working with Thrawn, but obviously that's years down the road. It's only speculation. It's a cool thought, but ultimately, no, I think we're going to get to, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think something's definitely going to, the lightsaber being ignited obviously is going to set something off clearly, because you don't leave it on that for no reason whatsoever. That obviously needs to be a focal point to the start of the finale. And I think that's when kind of all hell breaks loose. I think it was really cool that we got to see an old Republic vault. I mean, that the Republic vault was cool. Not gonna lie. I didn't realize. I mean, it's kind of neat to also see the fact that the Republic kept vaults around the galaxy so that they always had money being made. That's really cool. And yeah,
Is it that though? Are we sure it's that? I'm not so sure.
I mean, I do like Johnny's idea of the New Republic coming in, finding this new wealth to kind of help fuel their expansion across the galaxy, and ships and things of that nature. But I guess only time will tell in that respect.
Johnny's not going to want to hear it
Uh-oh.
because he said he didn't want it early on in this season.
Uh-oh.
But I have a feeling this place may directly link to one Papa Palpatine.
As long as it doesn't directly tie into him somehow trying to resurrect himself, I don't mind it.
But it makes sense that Palpatine
I
would
don't
set
think it's
something
to
like this up.
resurrect himself, but like he still needs
Funding.
infinite income, right?
Yeah, funding to do it. So it would make sense if this is something that Palpatine set up.
All of Star Wars and Disney Plus is just shows giving you tea leaves of what Palpatine was originally planning before Anakin dusted him.
They got to try and give us enough breadcrumbs to make, and then somehow Palpatine survived. Makes sense.
There's no safe in that, my friend. They can
No, but
try all they
they're gonna
want.
keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they did an excellent novel, Shadow to the Sith, but excellent novel or not.
Well, I mean, even in Legends, they had a way of bringing Palpatine back. So it's not like it wasn't something that was in the cards. The problem is execution when it came to the movies. And there is no amount, to me personally, there is no amount of retconning and trying to throw it in every single Disney Plus show that's going to make and somehow Palpatine returned work. It was rushed, and I mean, I don't get me wrong. I like what we're seeing in the series. I like we're seeing in all the Disney Plus series where they're trying to give you reasons and breadcrumbs as to how he came back. But for the most part, no, there's just no saving it. It's just that ship has sailed. It's time to move forward and just bring on.
In Legends, they didn't bring him back by going, somehow he returned. You always knew how it got done.
Exactly. At this point, it's bring on the new threat. What is coming? What is all of this leading to? And is how many of these characters are going to be involved? At this point, that's how grandiose I want this to be, and I feel like that's kind of what we're doing. Is we're setting up players that will in the future actually have some form of meaning.
If they can go this far with like the at and stuff, I don't want to hear that they can't do the Chiss Ascendancy stuff. That we can't see a bunch of Chiss on screen at once. They're one of the most interesting stories in Legends and in canon. And a lot of what has been set up for the future revolves around what the Chiss Ascendancy deals with. We've seen it play out, I guess now on the big screen, but specifically on the small screen. And the books that Timothy Zahn has put out in the current canon They're loose retells of what he did before, but like a lot of groundwork's laid there for what's to come.
No, I agree. I really, and I kind of hope that that's where Filoni's trying to lead all this. Now that he is, essentially head of creative in that respect, is that he's giving us story fragments that, as time goes on, we're gonna get to see how all this gets affected. Who knows? Who knows what we're gonna see with the finale next week? Maybe there'll be something that kind of hints at something that's coming. Who knows? Maybe that's how, maybe Jod does get captured, but somehow he gets freed by somebody else. It's one of those things where I'm actually excited for the fact that I don't know where things are going to go. We could sit there and say we could put out everything simple and say this is how it's going to go, but it just feels good to not have a clue what's going to happen. Like with the Acolyte, we were talking about how, oh well, we need to see this and we need to see this and these questions need to be answered, and it was pretty telling. Like leading up to it, we could almost predict what was going to happen, almost, not fully, but to some degree. Here, there's so many directions that could go, and the fact that I can think of so many different scenarios, that's pretty exciting. And I'm hoping that anything that I can think of is wrong, that they're going to completely blow me away and give me something I didn't even think about. And that's why I think the series has been so much fun, is that with everything they've given us, with like performances, the music, the set design, everything, you don't know what's going to happen the next episode. You can only speculate and guess, and tell me when I'm telling lies here, but when we come think about the very first episode, I don't think any of us saw it going in this direction at all.
I wasn't sure what to expect, to be honest. But I do like that, to harken back to Ty's point earlier. I like that it hasn't relied on cameos, and the story it's told has been, well, still very clearly taking place in the Star Wars universe. Has not been, directly pulled along by anything one specific that we knew before. You don't have a good reason to sit here and clamor for character, A, B, C, or D. I even thought to myself during this episode as they were releasing the messages, like, I guess you could sell me on, Mando and Grogu come across the message and they go and investigate it, and that would be cool too. But it doesn't need to happen. I think I just like the idea of Mando and Jod interacting. Um, but I just, I really enjoy what they've done with this show. It's good. I'm not going to say it hasn't slipped. I think the first 4 episodes were stronger than the last 3 have been, but I still think the last 3 have been quite good. And as a whole, telling the story from, you know beginning to end. We haven't seen the end yet, but like I think only Andor surpasses it.
I think you're right. I can't disagree with the fact that Andor has definitely been, you know, had been head and shoulders above everybody else. The storytelling, the acting, the drama in general, uh, the fact it's definitely been, out of all of them, for sure, has definitely been the best. And yeah, I mean, I would say this is definitely second, and in my opinion, Ahsoka third. Um, After that, it's a bit of a. Then, of course, we get into a couple of scenes of the Mando, but after that, it's a bit of a crapshoot, isn't it? When you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I I just think the way the whole thing's been crafted, um, benefits them because again, they're not. None of us are sitting here going, "Oh, well, is this the episode Luke Skywalker is going to show up?" Not that it was impossible for him to show up, um, but clearly something that they're not going to keep going back to. I just think they've managed to do a story that, with the characters that they created and the kids that were following, was compelling enough to, pull us along this adventure. And, we've said so many times in our previous episodes, shows and movies that it harkens to. And I'm just happy that it's been a breath of fresh air.
It really has. Even for me, I think this. Uh, I don't know where it ranks in my overall right now. It's definitely a podium show for me for sure. Um, I don't know where it sits on that podium quite yet. But it is nice to finally have a series on Disney Plus that isn't relying on those things. Even Mandalorian uh, has become heavily more and more reliant on the cameo, and everything else has either been built on a character from the greater story or uh, includes cameos of its own. That having an original story with original characters that only ties to the universe without tying to any specific characters of extreme consequence. And we still have the finale to get through, so we don't know if we're going to get any cameos. There are definitely still some possible, but
No, I think we're definitely getting a New Republic one.
yeah, but it's just
Like
a question
someone
of
from the
who,
new, yeah, and like again, for me, here's where I can be bothered by Star Wars version of the whole connected universe thing is if you're going to trot Carson Teva out there next week, have it be more than just hi or a one liner. Have him get in a scene that has some actual dialogue and meaning. The guy can act. He's been on other shows. But I also don't think the character is notable enough to have him pop up in a 30-second cameo and think that that's impactful because it's not in my opinion. Like, if you're going to go the cameo route, do something impactful. Otherwise, don't do the cameo route and have one of a billion New Republic officers be in the episode.
I mean, if he gets captured and they bring the New Republic in, I could see Hera being one of the ones that actually leads the transport to send him to, whatever jail or prison they have for his type. Obviously, with his ability of the Force, you're going to want to have something special for him. But I mean, given how dangerous he is, it would make sense you could use someone like Hera to be the one that leads the convoy that transports him. That'd be pretty impactful.
Yeah, give me Hera, give me Ezra even, right? Like,
Ezra would make sense just because of Force abilities, to be able to, you know, keep Jod in check. But I agree. They use Teva a lot, and yeah, he gets the occasional one-liner. You get to see him fly the X-wing, but it's this is I think one of the things I like about this show is the fact that it shows that the galaxy is vast, that it doesn't have to all happen in one spot. And that's the one thing I think a lot of people forget. It's a galaxy far, far away, and galaxies are huge. They are not tiny. Not everybody and their brother is all grouped into this one cluster of the galaxy. And a show like this shows that there are impactful stories that happen outside of where everybody else is. And that's extremely important, and that's stuff we need to see more of going forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that take. Um, I guess the only thing I would ask you guys is there a way that you realistically want to see this wrap up next week?
I mean, not really. I don't really have any specific expectations about what's gonna happen next week. Um, I think we're gonna get some twists. We're gonna get some turns. We're gonna learn. We're gonna learn more, and I think we're gonna come to a satisfying conclusion. Um, what that is exactly, I don't know. Um, but I think there's gonna be enough left that there is enough story to revisit this down the road if they choose a second season. Um, and if not, if it does just end up being, a one season thing, then I think it will be wrapped up in a way that's satisfying to that. They'll tell the story and it'll end likely with Jod in handcuffs.
Yeah, I don't know if anything is gonna save Jod at this point other than handcuffs or death. So, um,
I don't think he's gonna die, but I will echo Johnny's sentiments. Is I want something that there's really no huge expectations. I want something though that is satisfactory in terms of an end, and if it's going to be a series end, then that's believable, but also just enough there that if they do go to second season, there's something there that they can use to just seamlessly transition. Ultimately, um, you know, the only thing I can think of is like Jod being subdued. I don't want him to die. I want more of this character. I think Jude Law has done such a great job as Jod that I we all deserve more of this character. So as for an ending, he gets captured. Everybody get happy ending to some degree. If it's a series end, at least everything's wrapped up. If it's not a series end, just leave enough there that we can just transition down the road, whether it's someone showing up in a movie or we get season two. Either way, as long as I get that, I'm gonna be a pretty happy camper.
yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out here come next week. Let me ask you this before we get to our ratings. Um, what do you think is actually going on Ad Aden? Do you think it's as simple as they're storing Republic credits, or do you think it's way more convoluted than that? Because I think it's way more convoluted than that.
I think there's a degree of convoluted simplicity. Um, I think there is a lot more going on, but at its core, it is what it says it is. I think the bigger questions lie in the barrier than in what's actually going on at Adam. Being that it is just a repository of credits and wealth and creating that, and that is something you'd want to keep hidden, to keep it out of everyone else's hands. But I think the real big mystery is the barrier.
Yeah, there's definitely more going on here. And the fact that you had to bring up Palpatine, I just kind of was like, man, I wasn't even thinking about that. Now that you've brought it up, I'm just like, damn it. Okay, now we got to inject more Palpatine into things. Um, but no, clearly, I think also the banking clan probably played a role in this as well, helping set this up. So clearly, whether it be Palpatine's doing or the Separatists doing, or just in general something from something the Senate set up, we don't really know. We just know that this place has been creating currency for God knows how many years with really no one showing up to claim any of it, which is why we see so much of it. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they even give us anything as to what they're truly doing. Obviously, the supervisor individual, I would like to kind of see in the flesh and kind of see if he explains any of it. But I guess that, and for all I know, that'll be done in different media through comics or books, which is always something Disney likes to do. So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
All right, fellas, what are you giving this one out of 10?
8.5.
I mean, I'm not gonna go that high. Sad part is I've been doing like 7s and 7.5s all season long, and I think I would have to go back, and I could probably go back and redo my scale after getting this far, but I'm still gonna go 7.5, just because it's a good episode. I really enjoyed, just like I said, I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed Jude Law's acting. I enjoyed the kids acting. The story's been great. Um, RIP 33 for now, because he is a droid. They can just remount his head back on and probably turn him back on. Um, but yeah, I'm really kind of hoping that uh, the finale is that blow me away episode where I'm finally going to crack the 9 barrier. That's kind of what that's a lofty expectation, but I think the series has it in it. I think the finale could give it to us.
Well, only time will tell. Johnny, did you give your rating?
8.5.
8.5. I'm going to go with 7. So, and I know we weren't here for episodes 5 and 6, but I would have gave them a 7 too. So I'd have 1 through 4 at 7.5, 5 through 7 at 7. But yeah, I think though, due to Johnny's declining health, we were going to talk some wrestling, but with me having work in the morning and Johnny not feeling well, we'll save our wrestling talk for another night and catch up with what's going on over there. Speaking of declining health. Anyways, Johnny, where can everybody find you at, man, once you're feeling better?
Oh, here, there, and everywhere. Here, obviously, every Tuesday. Twitch.tv, Burst Before Pros. Once I'm healthy, we'll be back there. Yeah.
Randy?
Well, obviously here on every Tuesday uh, at Giggity Giles on X/Twitter. And with the NFL playoffs among us, we are going to be ramping up the Sports Brew podcast a little bit more. So just check out VA Sports Brew in the Googles, and you will find us.
Playoffs?
Right?
Anyways, that is going to do it for our show this evening. We'll be back next week with the finale and hopefully some other videos soon. It's going through a bit of a transition time here, and hopefully sooner rather than later things are a little more normal. But for Randy and Johnny, I'm Sean, and we'll see you next time right here when the Empire calls.